I am very concerned about our staff, as I'm concerned about students and of course families. So not knowing when this pandemic is going to allow us to have normalcy again, the question is, how do we, and I'll just begin with substitute teachers. There will come a time when we cannot physically accommodate every student every day because we don't have personnel. So we've been stretching. I think now we're to chewing gum on trying to fix things together, keep things together. We're at the point now, and I believe in the very near future, where we're going to have to say enough's enough. Enough in regards to this is what we can do in regards to quality education. So some of the thinking, some of the thoughts, which by the way, tomorrow I'll be recording a message that will go out to all of our teachers and all of our building principals saying for the next 2 weeks, there are no additional meetings. Matt and Haley, it's probably new to you, probably hasn't come to you just yet, but we need to just stop the additional things and focus on teaching and let people somehow gain somewhat of, should I say, a breath so they can continue this very, very difficult work. Why is this difficult? Because we're still having students in quarantining, which means 10 days, unless they're, unless they have some vaccinations and records and so on and so forth. But that's a stress. It's a stress on the student. It's a stress on the teacher. It's a stress on the system. So that's one thing, and that's very doable. And I'm hoping there's some teachers on this Zoom meeting right now, but there's going to be a formal message coming out tomorrow. And I also have to have concern for our administrators. And I was with secondary administrators last Friday, and they were telling me, Dr. Daniel, we love your message about us being instructional leaders, but we're hanging on, just trying to manage our buildings and keeping things going. And I just told them, please continue being the managers that you are today, because that maybe is the only thing in your particular building, in that particular situation, that's the best thing we can do. And that's okay today, but try to keep the spirits up in your building. Because I really believe teacher engagement creates student engagement, creates parent engagement. So we've got to keep ourselves as positive as possible. So what happens if we go down this road and we're still not seeing relief? And I mentioned a whole bunch of employee groups. We have right now food in our nutrition department. We have managers that should be doing things in the managerial realm of things that are literally in buildings today as directing food service in buildings. We can't continue doing that for a long period of time. We also have, in regards to, again, we've talked about bus drivers and the shortage there. So what are the options for us? So a particular option, and I would love to hear, in the chat or however you're getting this communication, Krista, if we went to, if you'd call it a rolling blackout, and I'll just give an example of that. What do I mean by that? So it's Monday, and maybe it's a Monday, every Monday, or maybe it's every second Monday or something. We'll probably start with maybe every 2 weeks if this is where we go. But I am asking teachers this question. I've asked principals this question, and I'll continue asking others because I think this is a possibility. But if we go with a blackout and say it's done by feeder system, so let's say Southside. So Southside's feeder system, you begin with the high school, you have a couple middle schools. That's not a pure, feeder system, but it's fairly pure. And now you attach maybe several elementary schools. And that day, say it's a Monday, those students are all remote that day. What does that do? that allows us to move bus drivers to other part of our district, that allows us to move food service workers to other part of the district, custodians to other part of the district, and so on. And I know this is a stretch. I know this is a stretch. But even as we disperse people from non-school buildings, workers, it's a stretch for them to move in those positions, and we don't have CDLs. And I want to tell you, food service has shut down some districts because they just don't have the personnel to serve the food. So is that a viable option? Some people would say, well, you know, it's a viable option for secondary folks, but can you keep the elementary folks in the building? Then my question is, how am I giving that extra time, if you will, for teachers to have that ability to rejuvenate, refocus, gather, and move forward? So as you can imagine, this is a district with nearly, you know, you think of 4,000 employees and you think, well, holy cow, can't you cover this? And the answer is not in today's marketplace. And we've got to think very, very creatively and differently. So those are the options that we're thinking of right now. And I know it is a hardship for families. And we won't do this without significant lead time for you as parents to arrange, if we do this, to arrange childcare. And we can always get into that phenomenon too. How do we provide childcare? Perhaps I don't know how we would do that and still maintain the ability to shift some staff. But those are questions that I think we have to start to address if the shortage continues to happen.